Welcome back, Formula One fans. Hi, I'm Laura with Rambles with Laura, and this is going to be a quick review of the 2024 preseason testing and the first race in Bahrain. I am wearing a Lando Norris McLaren jersey because I did think that last year he would get his first win, and sadly that didn't happen, but 2024 is definitely his year. I will say that I am not a fan of a particular team or only one driver. I support several drivers, and I'll be switching out team merch as these videos go on. I did get this from the official F1.com shopping site. I do recommend their merchandise. Several times a year you can get sales, and for those of you in the US, you can see the prices in dollars. And I have never had an issue with shipping to the US. Everything arrives in a timely manner, and sometimes you can find sales with free shipping. So do recommend that site. Sadly, my budget right now will not include additional team merch, but maybe in the future. Preseason testing was 3 days in Bahrain this year. I will say that 2 out of the 3 days were impacted with drain cover issues. Drain covers are rapidly becoming the main Formula One villain. And if you are in charge of a Formula One circuit race this year, just go check your drain covers right now. I don't really understand why they don't check for looseness before testing or races, but it does seem to be an issue, guys. Over the 3 days, Verstappen, Sainz, and Leclerc had the fastest time for each of the 3 days. But overall, most of the teams looked okay. Perez had a mechanical issue at one point, but that was fixed quickly. Williams had some mechanical issues that impacted the number of laps they did, but those issues too were fixed relatively quickly. Alpine seemed a little on the slow side, but you really can't tell too much from testing. The main thing will be what happens in the first race. Qualifying occurred under windy and quite cool conditions for that region. There was once again an issue with teams queuing up in the pit lane. The top 3 were Verstappen, Leclerc, and Russell. It was a really close qualifying though. Leclerc actually had a faster time in Q2, but couldn't match that in Q3. The closeness wasn't just the top 3. Positions pole through 9th had about a 0.6 of a second difference. This race was the 20th running of the Bahrain F1 race. It was 57 laps at night at the Bahrain International Circuit in Sakir. In the first lap, Verstappen pretty much took off. There was chaos in the middle and back as Hülkenberg didn't get off to a good start, crashed into Stroll, and they also collected Bottas, dropping Stroll and Hülkenberg back in the field. I think they both had to pit. Russell was able to pass Leclerc, but he couldn't keep that position due to some mechanical issues that I'll get into later. Leclerc had some issues with lockups pretty much from the first lap. He was having some issues with braking, and that was causing the lockups. Sainz did not seem to be having the same issue and was able to pass several drivers for third for pretty much most of the race. Williams was also having steering wheel issues that impacted their result in this race. McLaren didn't have any issues during the race, but I read somewhere that Lando actually had to replace his power unit before the race started, and that concerns me a little. And then Mercedes had a lot of issues. They finished relatively okay given those issues, but Hamilton was complaining about a battery issue. Both Hamilton and Russell were told to lift and coast due to a cooling issue with the car, and Hamilton reported his seat was broken at one point. I just question, wouldn't that be a safety issue if the seat is actually broken? Wouldn't you want to stop the car at that point? But that did not happen. Lap 32, Bottas had a 52-second pit stop. Can whoever cursed Bottas with wheel nut issues please undo the curse? The man has suffered enough. In lap 52, the RB cars of Tsunoda and Ricciardo had an issue. They put Ricciardo on soft tires relatively late in the race, and the team instructed Tsunoda to give up position to Ricciardo behind him. Tsunoda was very close to Kevin Magnussen. I think he was under a second away at the point they did this and was actively trying to pass. And Tsunoda rightfully, I thought, questioned why they were doing this now. I think it did interfere with him passing Magnussen. And Tsunoda was not very quick to cede the position. By the time he did, Ricciardo was not able to pass Magnussen either, and Tsunoda felt that he was still pretty much just as fast at that point. Apparently, in the cool-down lap, Tsunoda did lunge past Ricciardo, which is too bad, but I do understand his frustration with that decision. To me, that's really questionable strategy, why they didn't have Ricciardo pass sooner than at that instant. So for those of us hoping for a really tight race after qualifying, well, no, that didn't happen. Verstappen actually won by a whopping 22 seconds over Perez, with Sainz taking third and driver of the day. And I will say another standout for me was Stroll. He started 12th and then was knocked to last place after the contact with Hülkenberg. He moved back through the field and was able to get a point in 10th. So Alpine, sorry, you were still looking slow. Both cars were last in qualifying, and they would have been last in the race if not for the mechanical issues of Bottas and Sargent. Apparently, just before I filmed this, several of the members of Alpine's design engineering team have resigned, but just not a great start for Alpine. We'll see if they can turn it around with future car upgrades, but I think it'll be a bit difficult for them this season. Another standout for me is the fact that for the first time in Formula One history, the first race did not have any DNFs. I'm really hoping that as teams get a handle on their cars, that there will be closer racing. I don't like to see one team win year after year after year. Will there be any end to the Max Verstappen podcast? I don't know. And fingers crossed for a closer result. Thanks very much for watching. If you like this video, give it a like, and I will see you after the next race.